Alrighty, folks, my name is Ben Williams. I am a broker in El Paso, Texas for the WAR team, the Williams Advanced Realty Team, and we're going to talk about sub-agency. I should say the changes or the end of sub-agency. I have some people online with me. I've got some of my heroes, my champions online, and we got a couple people in attendance in the classroom. And so that being said, as always, guys, we got some questions, comments. We're gonna have some discussions. And then I even made a Cahoots game quiz that we'll do at the end to see if test your knowledge and see who's gonna win a Starbucks gift certificate. Okay, so stay tuned for the Starbucks gift certificate. If you're in virtual land, you can still win. It'll just be in your inbox once you get here. January 1st, 2026, SB 1968, modernizing the agency law is going in effect, and the end of sub-agency has happened. What's that really mean to you? I took the bill and I broke it down in some core rules. And today we're just going to talk about sub-agency, all right? I'm going to show you the forms associated with this as well, the showing form if you haven't seen it yet. We'll talk about some real world scenarios that could happen. If you can think of anything else, let's unpack it. Let's see if we can come up with anything else that we can think of, I should say, to discuss. This is safe space. Whatever we discuss is here. It won't be here. It'll be out there on the internet, I should say. A sub-agency is eliminated for all real estate transactions in Texas. For residential, you must have a written buyer agreement before you show a home or present an offer. If there's no showings, a showing only agreement must be non-exclusive and cannot exceed 14 days. And we're going to talk about the showing only agreement and what it has in it or what it doesn't and what it really means. Okay, we're going to unpack that a little bit. And you may show a property to a unrepresented buyer only if you do not agree to represent them. You do not give advice or opinions. You only provide factual information, price, size, terms, conditions, and you deliver your information about broker services and disclose who you represent before the showing. If you're hosting an open house for a listing that is not under our brokerage, not under the WAR team, every attendee must sign the non-exclusive showing only agreement. Non-exclusive showing only agreement has to be signed by anyone that walks in that door if you're not in a WAR team listing. You cannot personally represent both the buyer and seller on the same transaction. Intermediary rules require separate agents when both sides are represented by the same brokerage. Let's get into some real world scenarios to break all this stuff down. Scenario one, open house visitor with no agent, meaning they're not represented. So you're holding the open house at a WAR team listing. A buyer walks in and does not have an agent. You are supposed to provide information about broker services and clearly state that you represent the seller. All right, because as you stand there, you got to understand, even though you're not the listing agent that signed the listing agreement, you still stand there up under the brokerage and you represent the seller. They have to understand that at that time. All right. If this property is listed by another brokerage, you must have them sign a non-exclusive showing only agreement before viewing. At that time, you may answer factual questions only. Do not give advice or opinions about price, offers, or strategy unless they sign a buyer's representation agreement with the team. So as you stand there in that open house, You got to understand that you cannot give advice or opinions. You no longer can do those things, because in the past, every time a buyer walked into the house, we'd created sub-agency, because we start to talk in the language of about what we can do for them. That's how the sub-agency started to create itself. And the consumer doesn't know that, but the agent knows that. And prior to this, it was okay because sub-agency was allowed, all right? I don't think this hinders us. I don't think this takes anything away from us, because you could still transact with that buyer as long as you form the relationship properly, right? If you're not the listing agent, the proper way would be to go from non-exclusive showing agreement to the buyer rep agreement. And that's the way you're going to move forward. As they start in that open house, you just got to clearly say, hey, I'm representing the seller. If we want to advance this relationship and for me to give you opinions, to give you advice, to give you this, I need to have you sign my buyer's representation agreement. And then from there, we could, if you wasn't the listing agent. Everybody with me? Questions about that one? No questions?
Great. One question, Ben. It's a war team open house, but the person holding the open house is not the listing agent. What needs to happen? Let's say,
Martez, you're in Eileen's listing and you're standing there and they walk into the door. Hi, I'm Martez Sims from the war team. Come on into the open house. Hey, sir, here's our information about brokerage services. Can you sign this showing only agreement right now, just so I can walk you around this property? Okay, cool. Right now, is it advanced and they start to ask you for advice and opinions? Hey, Mr. Buyer, in order for me to do this, we need to advance this relationship. We need to have a buyer representation agreement so I can give you opinions, advice, all this other stuff. Okay, so that's the way you could do it if that listing is not yours. It would be part of the sign-in agreement. Now, if you have the people there, obviously, if someone's signing something and you got this agreement there, it clearly states, and you're going to see it here. I'm pulling it up for people to see it. It clearly states, showing form in effect November 21st, 2025. What is today? November 21st. 2025. All right, we're here. It says, hey, there's no representation with the form. And at the bottom, who's signing it, as you see at the bottom, it has the associate. So you as associate can sign it as the customer, right? And then it says, if required, broker will provide customer with broker completed information about broker services, which you'll have that there. Broker will, at the broker's reasonable discretion, provide customer with access to the property. Okay, so your open doors and access to property available for sale or lease on a non-exclusive basis according to the following. And it clearly states no representation, no compensation, no advice, no opinions, no other broker services. All right. Representation and disclosures. Broker will disclose to the customer if broker represents the owner of any property accessed by the customer. So like a seller's disclosure, that was factual information. You could provide that, right? That's okay. All right. It goes in pretty clearly and states what this really means. And the person would sign this. Now, if we went further along this path and we're still talking about the same scenario, the scenario being, let me open it back up. Where are we at here? So in that case, that's the process we got to go through coming January 1st. All right. Any questions about scenario one?
Ben, I just want to clarify if the listing is your brokerage or not. If you're going to show, you have them sign that showing only form, whether or not you are part of that same brokerage. Is that correct? If they don't have an agent?
Yeah, if they're unrepresented.
So just either way, whether it's your listing or not, if they're unrepresented, they're going to sign that form.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
If they don't want to sign because people barely want to sign the open house form, then they can't see the house.
According to TREC, You cannot have them have access. That's the actual verbiage. Access to the property. They have to sign this form to have access to the property. The form itself says no representation, no compensation. And the form at the bottom has a name and signature, has no phone number, has no email. I know someone's going to ask that question. So the likelihood of that happening, probably so. It may happen, right? But if you really clearly go with the showing form and what it really has, it's only saying, hey, look, this allows me to let you tour the house and access, and I can't give you any opinion or advice. And this is what I need to sign. You have to sign this. And I don't have your email. I don't have your phone number. So it seems to be a pretty easy form to get people to sign if you just really understand what the form really does and what it doesn't. So keep that in mind. There's no email. There's no phone number on here. But to answer your question, according to Texas Realtors, you could not let them have access to the property.
Did they explain the reasoning behind this change?
Yes, their attempt is to have clear transparency on representation and not have it convoluted. All right. The way this looks right now is we currently, before this goes in effect, you walk into that buyer walks into the house, we start to create an agency agreement with the language and the advice we give them and all the stuff that we do. And if the consumer is untrained, they start to assume and think that you're their agent. But really, when you stand there, you represent the seller because it's under the brokerage. You have to do it properly. You got to sit there and say, hey, as I stand here, I represent the seller. If you want to go further, we have to have a representation agreement in place and some form of compensation agreement in place to move forward. There's going to be a clear, concise cut that says, okay, hey, this is either here or there. We're telling the consumer exactly where we're at, to be clear. So that's the attempt behind it. Okay.
So basically now we have to sit at the door, right? Pretty much.
With your karate chops on.
Yeah.
Now, got you, Melinda. Let me keep on going through this because I'm sure there's going to be more questions like that, but let me make sure I tell you what's happening in the legal world.
I was going to ask a quick question. How long do we have to record it or have the documents saved? How long do we have to keep the records? 3 years or?
So this anything a consumer or customer signs, because I have to keep it on record for 4 years. I don't have a solution for that just yet. If people are signing something with your open house, how do you get it to me? We're going to have a whole issue with that one. That's something people have not thought about yet, but we'll get to that. I don't have an answer for that just yet. All right, but I'll figure that one out as we go. Let me keep on going here. Good questions though. Scenario 2. Can everyone see my screen or should I make it a little bit bigger?
I can see.
I can't see it, damn it. No, I'm just saying. All right, okay. All right, scenario 2, buyer calls from your yard sign and you are the listing agent. Okay, you are the listing agent. All right. You are the listing agent. A buyer calls you off the yard sign and wants to see the home. You may show the home as the listing agent and provide factual information. You cannot represent the buyer on your own listing. You must avoid giving advice or opinions. What you should do is this a good deal? If the buyer wants representation, you connect them with another war team agent or broker to appoint another agent under the intermediary clause. Now, keep this in mind. We just had this happen last week, I believe, with one of the agents and explain a lot of different things with the agent. And I want to make sure I'm clear with this. Some of our seasoned vets, I don't mind if they just call somebody and get it going. If you're under 3 years in this business, I want you to call me and get some guidance, okay? Because I'm supposed to assign somebody equal in experience to you. In our scenario last week, I was talking to the agent and I was like, I can't go grab Gus and let him work with you because the agent that we had was inexperienced. Okay, so that wouldn't be fair. I just say that to say that if you get in a situation, or I should say 0 to 3 years, if you just not really experienced, I want you to give me a call and we have a conversation and we make sure we match somebody up on that side. Now, what we end up doing is still the facts. The fact is, let's just say that it's Michael's listing, right? Buyer calls, Michael goes out there, does exactly what he's supposed to do, right? He doesn't give him advice, doesn't give him opinions. The buyer says, hey, I really like this property. I want to go further on this. Mike should probably sit there and say, okay, great. We can get you some representation, right? Mike should pick up the phone. Hey, Ben, this is the scenario, right? We talk about it. Him and I agree that I'm going to talk to him, say, okay, we're going to get this person. Mike will call this person up and tell this person about the buyer. But Mike's going to do a referral. If it's a 6% listing agreement that we have and Mike calls over to Samantha down there or whatever, right? And he's going to say, hey, Samantha, I got somebody that's interested in my listing. It's a referral. We're going to split this 50-50. And now Mike doesn't get the 3%. He gets 4.5%. And Samantha gets 1.5%, right? So I think that's the way it probably should go in that regard to bring that to fruition. That's the way it probably should go. But that's essentially the way we probably want to work it. All right. So it's not that you're going to lose out. You came into the deal thinking you was going to get 3% anyway, right? Most people probably think they're going to get 3%. And in this case, you did acquire an interested buyer unrepresented. So there should be some type of compensation for that. And that's the proper way to probably do it. All right. The key thing is to call me and let me know. Everybody with me on that one? Questions or comments on that one?
Yes, question. We still have them sign the showing only agreement initially as the listing agent?
Yes.
Okay, just making
Yes.
sure. Thanks.
Because it says no representation. And you're not going to give them no representation. They're the listing agent. They got to clearly know that you represent the seller.
Okay.
Ben, question. Sorry, somebody came to my door. So does this mean that we can't represent both anymore?
You've never been able to
That's
represent both,
interesting.
Melinda.
Yeah.
You've never been able to represent both.
Never.
I thought we could.
No, you've never been able to represent both. That's dual. And Texas is not a dual state, which everybody's confused about. Let's make sure we're clear. You're not the designated broker and you're the listing agent or you're the buyer's agent or whatever. You've never been able to represent both. You've been able to have a customer and you've been able to have a client.
That's what I meant. Sorry.
You
That's
said
what I was
represent
referring
both.
to.
People use that word so loosely, but it's so bad
Important
when
to
you say
understand
represent.
that.
Okay. I
It
get you.
absolutely makes me cringe when people, oh, can I represent both? And I'm like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
All right, you can't. You've never been able to do that. But that's the language we use with consumers sometimes, and it gets confusing. Most agents think that way or say it that way. Now, Texas is saying, hey, look, we got to stop that. Everybody use the same language, and it's just wrong. It's wrong. Okay.
So Ben, could it be like misunderstanding of intermediary? Because even though you do intermediary, you're not representing because you have to be clear. We used to be able to do intermediary,
So
buyer, seller.
we can still do intermediary. We're still going to do that. But we got to understand what we're talking about. Let's keep it very simple.
But not with
Agency-
the same agent. I cannot do intermediary with the buyer and the seller. I have the listing, have to give the buyer to somebody else.
The point is that the agency agreement is created at the broker level. Your sales agent. You got to stop thinking of the agency agreement being created at the agent level. It's at the broker level. If you look at it from that perspective, all the clients belong to the broker, then it's a different scenario. Like every person you talk to and you sign a buyer rep agreement, that buyer rep agreement is actually with me. As we stand here right now, me as a broker, I can create the intermediary relationship and do this and do that and put somebody over here and put somebody over there. As you stand here right now, you as a listing agent, the only thing you can do is sit there and say, okay, hey, I represent the seller. Buyer, you can be a customer. There's nothing created there. There's nothing created with the customer. And that's where we get all confused. So there's the confusion. And if you thought about, hey, the listing agent is just the sales agent and the broker has the client.
Right.
Yeah. So you got to think along those lines. Okay. And I know that kind of sucks because you're like, hey, Ben, you never talked to this person. You don't know this person. I'm like, yeah, I got you, but it's the way it is. All right, let's go to scenario 3. Buyer asks, should I offer a full price? It says here, you are showing the property to a buyer who is not yet in a written buyer representation agreement with the broker. Let's put the broker. They're not represented by me. All right. What can you do? You cannot answer that question or give advice about offering amount or strategy. You can only provide factual market information if allowed by your role. If they want advice, they must sign a buyer's representation agreement with you unless it's your own listing. Then you have to get another agent to represent them. Any questions about that one? Okay, scenario 4. Buyer's agent is busy today. Any buyer's agent, doesn't matter who it is, right? You're the listing agent. Buyer calls you and says, my agent is busy, but can you show it to me? What you can do, you can allow them to see the property as long as you only provide factual information and clarify that you represent the seller. The showing only agreement can be signed. You
Okay,
can't give advice, opinions, negotiate on behalf. After the showing, notify their agent that you showed the home and you did not represent the buyer.
so we'll need to ask their agent's info before showing them the home
Sure.
I mean, after, but they could say, I don't have it. And then technically that's the key to get away with checking out
Okay.
a house without having an actual rep, right?
Scenario number 5. A buyer wants to write an offer after a showing. They're unrepresented during the showing, so factual only. At the end, they say, hey, I want to write this offer. Before you draft and present an offer, they must sign the buyer's rep agreement unless it's your listing. And you cannot cross them from no representation into representation without a written agreement. So we got to get that written agreement. Scenario number 6, hosting an open house for a different brokerage. You got to have information about broker services, and they got to sign the showing only agreement for that, view of the property. You still avoid giving advice until they sign a separate representation agreement with the broker/agent. All right. Please, I hope y'all know the answer to this one. Can you just give me a code?
No.
Sure, yes. Of course.
Yay, thank you. Can you give me a code? Sure. Who said sure?
There's a gesture on the line.
No, you can't give a code. You can never give a lockbox code or grant unsupervised access. Follow all the MLS rules and brokerage rules when it comes to that. Your buyer walks into your open house. You already have a buyer rep agreement in place with a buyer. They happen to walk into your open house listed by you. All right, you got to recognize first that you're in an immediate conflict. You have a listing agreement signed by you, and you also have a buyer agreement signed by the buyer. Recognize you're in a conflict. You represent the seller and the buyer. At the open house, you let them tour the property, but you did not give any advice or strategy. Right? And you should probably tell them, hey, I can't give you any advice on this property because I represent the seller. Explain it to them. You should tell them, right? You could tell them after the open house, notify me, and you know how we'll handle just like we talked about. All right. You had to choose. I'd be like, hey, Michael, who do you want to work with? Hey, Ben, I want to work with the seller. Okay, cool. We're going to try and do some things and go that route. Okay. Questions about that one?
How long is considered after?
I think what Trek was trying to say, okay, inside that house, you shouldn't be doing it. But I think what they're saying outside the house, you could probably have the conversation and make sure they understand a little bit more. And then you have to decide how the intermediary is going to be formed. I think what they're trying to do is, oh, inside the house, we're going to form the intermediary right here inside the house and all stuff like that. I feel like that's what they're trying to get at. That's my interpretation of what they're talking about. All right. Scenario number 9, your buyer wants to see your own listing. I think we've already talked about this one. Hey, I want to see your listing. You immediately recognize that you're in a conflict. Can't represent both sides. Contact your broker.
The last two questions, 8 and 9, they're pretty similar to one another. So number 9 is saying that you can't show them your own listing.
So in this one, the difference is 8, they walk in your open house, you're already standing there. Okay? You're already standing in the open house and you got a buyer rep sign and they walked in your open house. 9 is, hey, you got a buyer rep agreement and they call you. You're at home watching the football game and they call you. That's what number 9 is.
If that happens, we can't show them that listing. It's best to find somebody, even though they may not put an offer in that home.
You could.
Yeah, because I'd hate to go through the trouble of trying to find somebody else if they're going to see it, but don't want to make an offer.
Don't put yourself in the situation that they're going to ask you information that you really can't give. You can only give specific details about the home and not advice or opinions. And they may want that since you're there.
I would want you to try to avoid it. Okay. Scenario number 10. I was just making stuff as I go. I'm sure y'all going to come up with a bunch of other stuff. As I was making the class yesterday, I was like, let me just try and get a bunch of scenarios. The next one here, both the buyer and seller want war team to represent them in the same transaction, and you are involved on one side. This is just the old school intermediary. We're just going to do appointments and things of that nature. That still is the same. There's nothing really changed there, but we'll still go over it. The broker can authorize intermediary and make appointments. You'll be appointed to either side. Another agent in the office will be on one side and you'll be on the other. Okay. And you focus on your client and that agent focused on the other client. Some key takeaways was that, what I have here. Okay. Key takeaway, don't give advice or opinions unless there is proper written representation and no conflict with your role. You cannot personally represent both the buyer and the seller in the same deal. And the keywords represent. Always involve the broker if that is the case. When in doubt, just stop and ask me questions. All right, ready for some cahoots? Are y'all ready? Anybody got some more questions?
Yeah, I do actually. I jumped on here a little late, and this is basically for advice from you. So I had a situation where a person called me. They wanted to buy the house. It's my listing. So I asked them if they had representation. They said, no, my dad does all the transactions. I asked, is your dad's a real estate agent? They said, no. And then it got to the point where I was like, okay, I can appoint you. I tried to give them Luis to represent them. I said, I got everything in place, commission, so forth, so on for the buyer. You guys don't have to do anything. It's already set up. But they were adamant that either I do it or their dad does the transaction. At that point, I just had Luis call them, but then it fell apart. So at that point, what advice would you give me with a scenario like that? And she also asked me to see the home. I said, yeah, I can show you the home, but I never end up showing her the home because I told her I can't represent both sides. What do I do in a scenario like that? Right now or January 1st?
Well, it's two different things on January 1st. Right now, as we speak, you handled it the best way you could. Today, you could have just said, okay, look, you're a customer and I represent the seller. And if you want me fill in the blanks, let's fill in the blanks. If you could stay in that role and not give any leverage to the buyer. But again, I had this conversation last week with somebody. I said, if they're a first-time home buyer, there's no way you can stay in that position and not give leverage to the buyer if you're representing the seller, because they're going to ask you all these questions. So you just can't do it with a first-time home buyer. Now, if it was some investor that has bought tons of properties, and I've done this several times. Hey, it's my listing. You want to buy it? Great. I'm filling in the blanks. I'm very clear with them about that. Don't ask me nothing. I ain't telling you nothing. And I'm okay with
Okay.
that. They're okay with it too. Most times, if they have been buying a house and they know what they're doing, they're like, okay, just fill in the blanks. Sometimes they come with their own contracts. It's all different types of stuff. But when you start talking about that consumer that's never bought a house, or they've only
Yeah.
bought 1 or 2 houses and this is something new, even me, I wouldn't even touch it. I'll just give it to one of
Okay.
y'all. I wouldn't even try. Okay. I wouldn't even try. Getting the extra 3% to be in a lawsuit, it just ain't worth it to me. January 1st, you have no choice but to get someone else involved.
Okay.
Let me see if I
Gotcha.
can pull this up. Log in here. We go test. This is for big money. This is for all the marbles, all the gold. What we have here? $10 Starbucks cart. Woo! Big money. Bam! Like playing dominoes. All right, let's see what we got here.
The answer is C.
Is it working? Let's see if we can get this going the right way. The mouse is real bad. How do I get to my stuff? This is my first Cahoots game I created. How do I do this? I made it this morning. Library. 22 questions.
Post live.
Martez, what I do?
You click on it. Let's see.
Go back
Click.
and press start. Go back. You
That
were on
don't
the
look
page
familiar.
already.
Go back. Yeah. Go back. That does not look familiar to me.
And then right
Oh,
next to the name, it has start.
Start. Click start.
Oh, it was covering up. Thank you, Carla.
Of course. Let me get those $10.
All right. Here we have it. All right.
Carla with the K.
Carla with the K. Greetings, greetings. You got to do you can do the code too. Are you in there?
Oh, I don't know.
You good?
Should I put student or?
I don't know. Okay, we got some people still coming in. Waiting on Brenda.
Hi, Brenda.
Hello, how are you?
Martez is already scratching his head. Should we be concerned, Martez?
Yes.
Okay, y'all
very,
ready?
very concerned.
Y'all ready? All right, let's do it.
I'm not on there.
Okay, we're waiting on you. Lauren, you coming?
Yes.
It is faster. You scan the QR code than trying to enter the PIN.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. We had some people didn't answer. So what I do next? I go next, right?
Yes.
And it gives me the results, right? Ah, Astrid. Okay. Samantha, Eileen, Carla with a K. Let's see who goes. Let's go to the next one. All right, everybody got that one? All right, y'all are. Who said false? We don't know who said false.
Man.
We got Astrid's moving up. It's real close between Astrid and Samantha and Eileen. Who's V? Oh, V. Okay, gotcha. All right, let's see who's gonna win. Your buyer means your buyer.
Isn't that the same exact question as the first one?
It might be. We might have doubles in here. Don't know. All right. Good job. Good job. Can't go wrong with that answer. Okay. Astrid is on her game, huh? Okay. Who's Turber?
I remember that name from when I did my Cahoots in the classroom. That's Teresa.
Teresa? Okay. There could be double questions on here because I wanted to reiterate. All right. Conflict. Good. What we got? Let's go to the next one. I think we talked about this, right?
Factual information.
We did.
Yeah, we can only give them factual information. And then we can have a discussion after the fact.
Okay. Anybody else?
Run out screaming.
Run out screaming. I love it, Daniel.
Run out of screen.
No. All right. First, you should identify the situation, what the conflict is, let them know. All right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first thing, right? The conflict and hey, what else? You hit it on the head.
Let them see the house and let them know and inform them. I can only give you factual information in the moment. Me personally, I'll probably schedule an appointment after my open house is over with and then talk to them more about that.
Correct. I love it. Love it. Okay. Asterisk on top. Oh, let's see. Oh, Mike moved up.
That one was tricky because don't we have to show the showing only agreement?
It wasn't one of your options.
Yeah,
It
can
says
you go
written.
back to the answers and explain it?
Yeah, but it's just that written agreement. So of that, it was a written agreement.
Just to oh, okay.
All right. I hope y'all got this one right now. Oh my goodness. Anybody want to give an answer?
2026.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. All right, let's go to the next one. Oh my goodness. Who said?
Press it by accident.
You sound just like me in my classroom, Ben. You want to know? You want to know?
I try to make these easy. All right, Melinda, highest climber. All right. Okay, let's see here. Let's go to the next one. All right, how many days non-exclusive agreement last? 14 days. 14 days. Let's see what happened. Had a big jump there. What happened? Carla with a K is gone. Eileen, what happened? How should we, as the war team agents, handle when a buyer with a signed representation agreement walks into the open house for a listing that holds, considering the conflict of interest of intermediary stuff? We talked about this one already.
Just give facts and notify them that you're representing the seller.
Absolutely. Thank you, Daniel. Let's keep on going. All right, quiz. We're gonna skip this one because we beat a dead horse. Let's skip it. All right, let's go to the next one. What must happen before drafting an offer? Samantha and Astrid, they battling it out, huh?
Can I change my answer?
Yeah, you can
Press
change
the
it.
wrong one. Did I?
It seemed
I
like you
guess
did.
not. No, yeah, I second guessed myself.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good.
All right. I hope you don't change your answer. Coming to the final stretch. What must buyer sign at open house for other brokerage? Oh, yeah, we need to discuss this one. For another brokerage, when they walk in, we got to do the non-exclusive showing only. Showing only. All right. Cardi B, what you got down there? Cardi B up in the house. Okay. All right. Going, keep going. What information? Okay. Only factual information. Got some people on some hot streaks. All right. Who's gonna win? Astrid or Samantha? Ignore.
What to do if buyer wants to see your own listing?
I can see how somebody say show it yourself.
Because it doesn't say your buyer.
Yeah, get it correct, but still might have said you were.
Yeah. If you're a buyer, that's a bad question on the broker. I could have had a bad, I should put your buyer.
Yeah,
My
I
bad.
got it wrong. I lost my streak.
Okay. Oh, default. The bad question from the broker. All right, my bad. All right. Okay, how does handle a situation where a buyer wants to see your own listing, and what information can you provide to an unrepresented buyer? So it says a buyer, so it's not your buyer. And what information can you provide an unrepresented buyer during the process? Unrepresented.
Only factual.
All right. And we get the what sign? Showing only non-exclusive agreement signed. Okay. Facts only. All right. Uh-oh. Astrid, she got mad at us.
Ooh.
Samantha has moved up in the running. Melinda.
Yes or no? That's going to be false.
I messed up. I need to change my answer.
Oh,
It's a poorly written question.
It says represent,
Yeah,
so that was the
yes or
key
no.
word.
Should have been yes or no.
Y'all know what I meant.
We did. We do, Ben.
Okay.
Almost tricky too.
Oh my goodness. Last question.
True.
All right, factual information. What happened? Gina number 3, Desiree. And number 1, Samantha, she wins. You know what? I got top 3 here. I think I got 3 out here. I think I do.
I think Astrid had insider information.
I think she did too. I only got 2.
Yeah, but you got me with that tricky question.
I'm
With the
sorry.
buyer.
I'm sorry. I owe you back.
What happens if the buyer walks into your listing? I got it right if it was just a written one.
She said it went downhill after that.
Hey, Gene, I'm gonna put this in my box. So next time you're in the office, it's in the box, okay?
Thank you.
All right, let me wrap this up. If you get questions and scenarios come up, call me, ask me. I'm sure it's some things we haven't covered here. I just think it's one of those things that we're gonna have to adjust with it as it goes on. But this is just a start. We'll do some more training on it, talk about it more, okay? But thank you for being here. And do y'all have any questions for me, even outside of a sub-agency or anything like that? Carla, go ahead, Carla.
So these are the proposed, right? Why is the likelihood that something might change?
So sub-agency is not proposed. This one is changed. Well, this is the only one
The
that's
proposed, right?
Let me go over to the actual Texas. You can see the proposed here. But this one is already going to happen.
Was it maybe under revision? When there's a form that is proposed, usually once it's on that stage, does it usually go that way or change, or there can be changes or?
Well, so last year when all this stuff happened, there was a lot of proposed changes came about, and then we would implement, and then maybe a month later, something would change. But they did publish and enforce, and then something came out like a month later. I remember when we first changed the listing agreement, we did it for the first 3 weeks, and then something changed after 3 weeks.
Okay.
But did it go into effect? It did go into effect when all that stuff took place last year on August 17, 2024. The list agreement changed maybe twice in a matter of 3 months. Am I correct, Martez? I think it was like twice in a matter of 90 days.
Yes.
Thank you, Ben.
But we can't use that we don't know, because if it goes in effect, you got to know what the rules are. It's my job to make sure you guys know what's out there.
Can we get a copy of those scenarios just so we can read over them?
It was in the chat.
Oh, I didn't see.
Yeah.
Thanks.
They asked a question on the chat about the form that says they only have to sign one form, right?
Say the question again, Eileen.
It's on the chat. I think it was regarding when they show up to an open house and they have to sign that non-exclusive showing. They only have to sign one form, right?
Correct.
Yes, good for 14 days. Yep. So if you ask them, it's good for 14 days.
Awesome. I don't know who asked. It just says iPhone, but
Okay, let me go to it. Yeah, it's good for 14 days.
Is that only for that one property?
No, it's just good for 14 days.
with the client.
For that person.
For 14 days
Yes.
with multiple properties.
Yeah, and Carla, they proposed because they are more than likely going to make changes depending on what they see after they're implemented. Once it reaches the final, it'll be the set form. I'm going to add that.
They made some changes to the listing agreement as well. That's proposed as well. So we'll talk about that. This is all we got for today. I appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you. This is
Thank
great.
you, Ben. Good day,
Ben.
everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Ben.
Martez. Bye.
Thanks,
See
Ben.
most of you guys tonight at the installation.
Yeah. Sarope, I'll see you in a couple hours, dude.
Yes, sir. I'll be there, Martez.
Okay.
Ben,
Yes.
Is it the
Sure.
WhatsApp chat or this chat?
It's the WhatsApp chat.
The WhatsApp.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'll send it to you. Yo, technology deficient.
Hey.
I don't see it, man.
right,
Melinda, I don't
I'll-
see it either, Melinda.
Thank you, Martez. Thank you.
I'll send it out. You guys will get it. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Talk to you later. All right, bye.
Bye.